Okay, guys. Sorry for the long wait. Our host today ran into some technical issues. So I will take over and I will be the host today. So let's get started. So welcome to our ninth Dream Panel event. I'm Brian. I'm your host today, and my colleague Grace will be the co-host for today's event. During today's event, we have 3 giveaway sessions. Grace will give you specific instructions on how to claim those rewards. And for those of you who haven't participated in the event before, Dream Panel is a series of online events that Solv Protocol organizes with other projects. And every week on Tuesday, we will have 2 to 3 guest speakers joining us on Discord to share their knowledge on a specific topic. So make sure to follow our Twitter updates for the upcoming events. So today's topic is the most anticipated Web3 games of 2022. And I have the great honor to have 2 guest speakers, Daniel and Liam. Welcome, guys. So the first part of our discussion today, I will give each of you around 5 to 6 minutes if you can briefly introduce your project to our audience. Daniel, would you like to start?
Yeah. Hello, Brian. Hello, Liam. It's an honor to be here to speak with more than 1,000 participants. And I'm Daniel, project manager of Zone 9 Survival from QBA Studio. And QBA Studio is an indie gaming studio based in Vietnam. Consists of more than 80 dedicated members focusing on building blockchain gaming products. And yeah, at the moment we are building a 3D MMO AAA quality game with blockchain integration that is placed in a post-apocalypse world. So basically, it's like The Walking Dead, but in the gaming version. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Liam, could you start?
Yep, sure. So I'm one of the original co-founders of Aradina. We actually launched the project about 14 months ago. So in simple, our sort of mission and our value proposition, what we're trying to do as a company is to accelerate the growth and adoption of Web3 gaming and the Web3 ecosystem at large by on-ramping users to use the blockchain. So we speak about this idea of trying to bridge the gap between traditional gaming and blockchain gaming. There's a couple of key ways in which we're trying to do that, really. One is through the gameplay. So we're trying to create a AAA game experience which sort of combines elements of like Hearthstone, Gods Unchained, Civilization. So it's best described as a turn-based strategy game, which is also a hex battler and a trading card game. So we describe it as the first player versus player trading card hex battler on the blockchain, which allows players to own and trade their in-game items whilst earning real financial rewards. So at the moment, out of the top 10 digital trading card games in the world, there's only one that allows you to actually trade your assets. The rest you just have to sort of buy packs from the store. Whereas we're trying to give like real true player ownership and allow people to trade their assets. And then the second part of it, as well as the gameplay, is the ecosystem and onboarding, which I think we'll speak a lot about today. This idea of allowing Web2 gamers to easily onboard to the Web3 ecosystem.
Okay, thank you, Liam, for the short introduction. I'm sorry, guys, since we have been waiting for so long, and I would like to give the first round of rewards, and Grace will give the instructions in the rewards channel. Okay, let's move on to the second part. So I have a few questions for Liam and Daniel. I will ask Liam first. Could you tell us like at what stage of the development now?
Yep, sure. So interestingly enough, we actually last night just put out our first teaser of the downloadable prototype. So we started development on our main game, which is Aradina Battleground. So there's 2 different phases of development for us. So we have Aradina Questing, which has been live for a few months now, and we had stage 2 of that launched last month. Essentially what that is it allows early adopters of the ecosystem to begin to upgrade their NFTs and also to earn new NFT rewards. So you can earn army packs to start building your army and upgrading your army. So it essentially allows people that are early to get ahead and increase their earning potential before the full game launches later in the year. The full game being Aradina Battlegrounds, which we started development in January of this year. We are looking to have our alpha version next month, and then closed beta will be from November, and then we're looking at doing full public release in January of next year.
Oh, January next year. Okay, thank you. And Daniel, could you give us some updates of your project and any exciting news that we can expect?
Yeah, so we have been developing the game since March until now. We have the demo test available at the moment, and please stay tuned, and we will drop the alpha test in the near future. Maybe in the next quarter, it will have the PvE feature of the game. So basically, Zone 9 World will be the open world game, so players can freely discover in our alpha test. In the next quarter. But in the meantime, there's a lot of activities with rewards in trending NFTs at the moment on our Discord channel. So please check it out and join to have a chance to win some of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the updates, guys. So guys, please follow their socials to see the updates of these two projects. My next question is for Liam. We saw that one of the you guys actually funded by some of the famous VCs in Web3, such as Animoca Brands. Could you tell us a little bit of like how you guys are using the funds and how, like, for example, how big is the team now and what is the current allocation of resources? And also, how do you guys cope with the bearish market at this moment?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a few different questions in there. So what I'll start with is our relationship with Animoca Brands and how that came about. So we were actually introduced to Animoca Brands in November of last year. We got along really well, actually. In our first pitch to them, they decided that they wanted to lead a pre-seed equity round. And they also, the sort of main benefit of working with them is that they wanted to bring on board Blowfish Studios. So for those who don't know, Blowfish Studios is a game studio based in Australia that Animoca Brands acquired last year. They're the developers and publishers of Phantom Galaxies, another top blockchain game that's in the works at the moment. So we formed a partnership with Blowfish as of last December and have been working with them as a co-development studio since then. So that's been a massive advantage for us in terms of development. In terms of what we've been using the funds for, so mainly development really and building. So we've started to scale out our own internal team. So our internal team's up to about 25 now. In total, including outsourced members, we're about 60. We have quite a large team at Blowfish that work on the Unity 3D game development as well. So that's really where most of the funds have gone towards. We're actually looking at doing another round later on this year, and the funds for that will go towards bringing more of the development in-house and continuing to scale. So far, we've actually really spent nothing on marketing. So something which I've sort of spoken about before in sort of like thought pieces on my own like personal Twitter and articles that I've written before is about what I think the issues are with blockchain gaming and Web3 gaming in general. I think one of the main issues is there's been lots of funding in this industry, but very little product and delivery. And personally, one of the reasons I think that is that I think that there's been a lot of focus on like sort of quick deliverables and pushing for hype. And there's been a lot of fake promises and fake hype with marketing with no real building going on behind the scenes. So we actually took a bit of a different approach when we had our first NFT launch and received our initial funds at the end of last year. And we didn't really spend anything on marketing. We didn't even have a marketing team for quite a while until recently. We've just started to ramp up marketing again. The reason being is that we wanted to start building, start working on product development, and that we only really want to start marketing again once we had things we could actually deliver. So like, as I mentioned earlier, we had our stage 2 questing launch about 6 weeks ago, and we're now just put out. If you go onto our Twitter, which is Aradina Warrior, then you'll see that last night we actually put out our first teaser of our prototype. So I think that's. I don't know, there's one other question there that I might have missed on, but I think that was all of it covered.
Okay, thank you. It's very clear. Thank you, Liam. Daniel, could you also tell us a bit of yourself, maybe your team as well?
Yep. So similar to Liam, our core focus will also be the product development process, since we during this market situation it's very hard for the team to push out the marketing, since the general attitude of the investors, um, retailers, they are very negative. So we want to build a game that is deliverable in the near future, and then we'll ramp up the marketing as well. Right now, we have been focusing on our fundraising process, and it has actually not running pretty well. But I guess, yeah, tough market. We have to face with the reality and do our best at developing the product.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the answer. I read in a research a report that published by crypto.com, and it researched, I think, around 2,000 respondents. And so they are just like really diving into what type of games are like most favorable to Web3 players, and which of the geo it's like people has the highest enthusiasm, they're the most enthusiastic about. For Liam, like when you just said you started the marketing effort about like a few weeks ago, right? When you guys are going to launch the game, do you have like a specific geo or priority that you want to target first?
So sorry, are you speaking about like a specific target market that we're focusing on first?
Yes, a specific target market.
Yeah. So we've actually been putting a lot of thought into this recently. We're thinking a lot about like our product market fit and how it, like, sort of what segment we target first and stuff. But really, what we want to focus on first is the target market, like niche target market, who sort of has the most pain points at the moment and is the most convertible to what we're doing. So in the long run, what we're looking to do, really, the whole like value proposition and mission statement of the company is to accelerate the growth of the Web3 ecosystem by attracting Web2 gamers, and that's what we're focused on in the long term. But we also understand the importance of focusing on a specific niche at first. So I'll give an example of like Facebook. So when Facebook first started, they started on one university campus, and then they moved to different universities, and then they moved to like sort of young people bracket, and then they moved out and expanded to different countries. If they had like their initial 1,000 users on one campus worked, if they had 1,000 users spread across like different campuses and different locations and different demographics, there would have been no point, the platform wouldn't have worked. So similar for us, we're focusing on an initial target segment of Web3 gamers, people that are already sort of used to the Web3 ecosystem and that are also interested in our type of game genre. So specifically like trading card games. That's sort of like the beachhead segment we're focusing on at first. And then from there, we're looking to expand out and really try and attract Web2 gamers in sort of like the second phase of our go-to market strategy.
And what can be the biggest challenges? What can be the biggest challenge for Web2 players?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest, there's a couple of different things. So one is obviously the gameplay. So I think Web3 gaming has like quite a lot of negative sentiment towards it right now from Web2 gamers, and kind of rightly so, because the first phase of blockchain gaming, which I'd say was like the last bull market, we saw a lot of pretty poor quality games that were just like focused on earning. So it was like the real sort of like play to earn games where it was just like people just played for the earning incentives and there wasn't really enjoyable gameplay experience. That was sort of the issue. The blockchain games that win long term will be those that are actually fun to play, which is what we're focused on, and I think what Daniel's saying that they're focused on as well. So that's one issue, is sort of overcoming like the negative sentiment. And in some respects, it's difficult for us just to do that as a company. That's like a wider shift in the industry. So like if you think about like sort of this idea of like the technology adoption life cycle, you have like the innovators at first, then you have the early adopters, then you have the early mainstream, then you have the late mainstream, and then you have the laggers. And it's like there needs to be almost like a natural shift in the industry towards becoming more mainstream. So it's like we can do our best, but it also requires like content creators and thought leaders and public speakers in the space of Web2 gaming to start speaking about Web3 gaming in a more positive light, which I think is starting to happen. But that will also just be like a sort of natural shift, which I think will take place over the next 12 months or so.
Right. Thanks
Yeah,
for the answer. And
it's very
Daniel,
insightful. Yep,
Daniel,
our
do you have?
approach. Yeah, it's like I have different approach to Liam at the moment. So, basically, Zone 9 team, we will focus to solve the pain point of the existing users in the crypto spheres at the moment, and totally agree with you about the GameFi, the past generation of GameFi, the lacks of the fun factors. Like 90% of the games were just casual game, and I can tell that people can get bored very easily. And the second problem that they are facing right now is that because of the volatility of the market, it can elaborate the process from excitement to frustration very quickly when players get into the game, pay a certain amount of money, and face huge financial loss in the future. But also the game economy model of the past generation is also not sustainable. So we are trying to eliminate the pain points of the existing users in the Web3 gaming sphere at first, and then we are trying to move into the Web2 gamers by putting out some set of values that we believe that Web2 gamers are seeking from participating into Web3 at the moment, like some specific requirements like entry barriers, and also the need of education about true benefits of joining a Web3 ecosystem is we believe that is way more valuable than when you just playing traditional games. Like you just have the thrill of excitement and all the accomplishment that you have, but you cannot convert into anything.
Okay, and when it comes to your go-to-market strategy, what is your like the market that you primarily focus,
Yep. So
or you just target universal players?
yep. So our game genre MMORPG is a quite niche category. So we are trying to focus on the market that are consist of developed countries like South Korea, Japan, Australia, and Europe, and United States. Since they are very hardcore gamers, they spend a lot of effort and money into the game, and they actually very loyal to the game. But the TA in the Southeast Asia and other developing region at the moment, they tend to seek for a game that can generate a quick earns for them at the moment. So I guess it would not be an ideal fit for Zone 9 Survival at the beginning stage when we launched the game. Yeah, so the focus would be on the developed countries.
Okay, thank you. And so I'm not really a gamer myself, but I worked for in the Web2 companies. When we started penetrating different markets, like language barrier is one of the biggest thing that we are facing. So is that the same thing for games when you enter different markets? Like in game, do you have to translate the content? Because Daniel just spoke about countries like South Korea or Southeast Asia, like probably Vietnam or Thailand. I do think localization is quite important, right?
Yeah, and for that part, definitely when we target a specific market, we also need to provide some sort of content that are tailored into those criteria.
Yeah, so something that we've been doing is we've been forming partnerships with gaming guilds and other partners in the regions who are offering to do in-game translations for us. Because they're actually sort of from those regions and it's native to them, there'll be much better translations than if we attempt to do it ourselves. So I think in-game translations is a super important part of it for sure. And then also like the specific regions that you target more specifically, then also having people like boots on the ground in those regions as well, sort of as like a representative of the company. That's super important as well.
Okay. Thank you guys for the answer. So now my colleague Grace will give out the second round of rewards. Please check in our channel. Okay. I think like when we're talking about Web3 games, like one of the most important part is the tokenomics, right, in the game. And we all know that some of the games that they fail because they don't have a really sustainable tokenomics. And Liam, could you like tell us a bit more of the token design in Arena game?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a couple of really important points here about why previous blockchain games failed and weren't very sustainable. So one really important thing is the fact that it's absolutely essential that gamers recycle funds into the game economy through in-game features rather than continuously draining the rewards by immediately selling tokens to fiat. So that's super important just in terms of like, first of all, not necessarily even just the design of the game, but also the type of like gamers that you're attracting, the target market you're aiming for. You need to look for gamers that are actually interested in the game, have sort of emotional attachment to their assets, and are looking to reinvest into the game economy rather than just immediately sell for fiat every single day. And then the second element to that is how you actually can design the game economy to avoid that sort of situation. So in particular, needing to avoid inflationary on-chain tokens. So that's like one of the huge problems that Axie Infinity had with their SLP token, which eventually just became their unsustainable cash out token. It's really important to avoid inflationary on-chain tokens to sort of prevent this like Ponzi-like scheme where new users are required to support the earnings of old users. So what we're looking at doing is we have our on-chain governance token, which is Aradine in gold, the IDO of which will be later on this year. And then we also have our silver coins, which is like our unlimited supply token, but that is an in-game token that is not on-chain. And what that allows us to do is to provide like a more consistent and stable yield of earnings. And the silver coins can't be withdrawn or exchanged for AG. Instead, players can spend the silver coins on core features in the game. So say, for example, like new NFT packs and stuff like that, and upgrading their current NFTs and their current warriors. And by spending that silver coins on core features, that increases their earning potential of both silver coins and Aradinian gold. So say, for example, like because we've got elements of a trading card game, someone can earn silver coins, which is an in-game token. They can then spend that on army packs to improve their army so that they then can earn more from competitive games, and they can earn more Aradinian gold as well, which actually can be converted into fiat. And then the second thing as well is looking at like making features more innovative. So in particular, like our recruitment system, which is like a breeding system. One of the important things that we're doing there is that recruiting new warriors will require a recruitment rune NFT, which we distribute through game rewards. And that's basically measured through a complex algorithm that measures the demand for new players. So again, using the example of Axie Infinity, where they had a problem, is that the demand for people looking to get into the game goes up, and then the amount of Axies getting breeded goes up as well. But then as soon as that demand for people getting into the game falls, it causes a huge shock to the ecosystem, where there's way too much supply and way too many Axies being created for the actual demand to get in the game. So what these recruitment arena NFTs allow us to do is, because they're distributed in game rewards through an algorithm that measures the demand for new players, it then actually allows us to match the number of warriors created through recruitment to the player demand without needing to have an element of failed recruitment, which would obviously annoy the player.
Cool. Thank you. And so your governance token, when will you launch that? And is that going to be on the exchange?
Yeah, so we were actually, interesting enough, we were actually going to launch it earlier this year, just before the bear market hit, at the end of the bull market. And then we decided not to, because what we were going to do is we were going to launch it around our questing system. And then we decided that that wasn't really in line with what we were trying to do as a company. So our questing system would have been like a sort of similar to like DeFi Kingdoms, like DeFi rewards type of thing. And then we realized it actually didn't make sense to launch our governance token until we actually had like good gameplay, which is everything the company is about. So we've delayed the IDO launch until much later this year. We haven't got a specific date yet. It'll be pretty close to the Battlegrounds launch date.
Okay.
And in terms of we're planning to launch it on Polygon as well. So we've got a grant from Polygon, and then also we've Got a few exchanges which we've already sort of starting to come to agreements with. One of which is Gate.io in particular, and then a couple of others as well.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And Daniel, could you tell us about your tokenomics?
Yep. So basically, what Liam said is very correct about the current tokenomic situation of the past GameFi projects. And Axie Infinity is a very great example to look at. Like for the previous GameFi projects, the devs will give out an enormous amount of tokens to the players by simply playing the game. That would ultimately create a really bad mindset for the players that they would come to play and to earn and to dump. And for that, we are, and also there's a lot of criticism about the dual token models that we are applying to Zone 9 Survival. But like when you develop a game, MMORPG, it's necessary to have a dual token, but the way that we are making the game more sustainable relies on how we limiting the earning ability of the in-game tokens for the players. So we are restricting the amount of tokens that can be earned through only one feature, which is Guild Wars. So basically the game will be based on the post-apocalyptic world, and players will have to fight over the territory. Through that way, when they successfully conquer a territory, we'll incentivize them by giving them the ability to earn our in-game tokens. So that's one way that we're trying to limit the token outflow into the market, and the amount of tokens flowing to the market must be in the hand of the actual players that are spending efforts to win the tournament. Also, we are trying to implement the auto burn mechanism, which is essentially when every steps you play, every activities you do in the game will gradually degrade your NFTs and weapons. So you have to spend a small amount to fix that weapons or NFTs. So yeah, in order to play, you have to burn some of the tokens, and we're trying to elevate it in the Guild Wars tournament that I mentioned before. So the game will have two dual token model, our government token, which is Z90, and our in-game token, which is ZOL. Yep.
Okay, thank you guys for explaining your tokenomics to us. And Daniel, I saw that in your roadmap, it's written that there's going to be some exciting events coming, and including releasing the NFT marketplace.
Yep.
So could you tell us which stage are you at now?
I mentioned before that the stage of development of the game is at the demo test, and the alpha test will be dropped in the near future, maybe in Q4. And yep, the NFT marketplace will be released next month along with our first NFT sale collection. Yep, make sure to follow our Discord channels and get some of the whitelist spot to be able to try out the game during the early stage. And thank you.
Thank you, guys. So my next question is from our side, and how do you think you guys can incorporate Solv's product, the voucher solution, to your game?
Yep, I guess the Solv voucher is a very innovative idea that we can passing on the whitelists and ideal in terms of voucher, right?
Yeah, the voucher, yeah.
Yep. So it's a very innovative method in terms of fundraising for project owners.
Okay. And Liam, do you think that we have the chance that to Aridin is like voucher on Solv. Like for example, some campaigns on Solv, and some of the community members also get the access to like early allocation.
I think
In
that
terms
sounds
of-
really interesting. So, just to make sure I've got it right, so Solv Protocol, their idea is to create vouchers which represent vesting tokens, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that has a lot of benefit for us in terms of like starting to bring new people into the ecosystem and allowing to like use the vouchers to manage to sort of manage like underlying assets. I think so. The idea is that people like hold the vouchers and then claim them, right? And then they can sort of trade them on like Solv's marketplace or OpenSea and stuff like that. So it sort of allows people to use the vouchers early on, and then they can exchange them later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that would have a lot of benefit for us actually. I didn't actually know too much about it before. I did some research earlier on today, but the more I looked into it today, the more I thought it looked like a super interesting idea. It solves a lot of problems that are currently in the industry.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
it also solves the problems of the investors who's are not interested in the project. They can pass on the voucher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in that
And
way,
actually, we had a game before, and they're also a little bit of like a play to earn kind of model. So how they are going to work with us is they implemented a voucher solution. So instead of like rewarding the players with their tokens, they reward them with the voucher. Yeah.
yeah,
It was
interesting.
side. Yeah. So that's might be one of the functionalities that you guys might look into. Okay, thank you. So my next question is for Liam, and what is the biggest challenge now for your team or for the game in general, and how do you guys cope with it?
I think the biggest challenge for us right now is trying to gain new players, so like player acquisition prior to the game. So obviously our game doesn't actually launch in terms of like full public launch until January of next year. And what we need to really focus on now is looking to acquire new users who are actually going to be players that actually want to play the game. I think it's a lot easier in this space to find people that are interested as like retail investors and stuff like that who believe in Web3 gaming as a concept. But it's more difficult to actually to gain a mass adoption of players into the ecosystem, which is something that we're massively focused on right now. So we've actually just brought in a new marketing lead who's doing a lot of research into this at the moment and sort of researching into our go-to market strategy and really turning our focus from, because we originally started off with an NFT sale about actually a year ago. Tomorrow was the date that we did it. And that was sort of raised our initial revenue. But really, a lot of those people are like our early investors. Some are players as well, but a lot of them are early investors. So really like shifting the focus now, because the games that will win long term are those that actually reach a mass adoption of players. So really like turning our focus towards how we're going to acquire new players.
Okay. And Daniel?
Yep, the biggest challenge for us at the moment will also be the how we can acquire the players into the ecosystem. Since all the GameFi projects in the past has collapsed and created a very bad sentiment towards the Web3 gaming community, as well as I also think that the infrastructure at the moment, it hasn't adapted well to the vision that we are trying to acquiring a huge numbers of Web2 gamers that would potentially join our ecosystem. And yep, it's a bear market and it's kind of filtering out the weak project at the moment. So I think the challenge that we are facing right now, the only solution that we have is to focusing on what we are believing and keep building.
Okay. Before I ask my last question, guys, if you have any people in the audience, if you have any questions, just simply could you just press the raise hand button? So we will see if somebody has some questions. Then my colleague will allow you to be on stage and ask the questions. Okay. So are you guys actually currently working with some GameFi guilds?
Yeah, so we had an investment from a few different guilds who we were working with. So Path DAO was one of the big ones. Avocado Guild was another big one. And then there's like 3 or 4 various other ones as well. There's an interesting one actually called The Kingdom, which is a new one that started up on the basis of Aradina and a couple of other projects, which has been started by one of the biggest holders in the community, the Mad King. And there's a few other guilds that we're working with as well.
Yep. From outside, we are trying to get guilds on board, and side guilds, they separate into different genre. Some guilds, they focus more on the casual games and a more easy to play games. But for Zone Survival is a very hardcore game, so we are trying to find guilds that would actually keen to play on this type of games. Yep. So currently discussing with some of the guilds, and Ancient 8 is one of the Vietnamese-based guild that recently be funded by some of the big VCs in the market, and we're trying to work with them at the moment.
In Vietnam, a game is a very big market here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because most of a lot of projects in Europe or in the States, when they enter the Asian market, Vietnam is their like priority.
Yeah, because I think because of the living standard has kind of motivate them into finding a more innovative way. That means they can play a game but generate some income. It would be a great idea, right? So that would be some of the Vietnamese mindset when it comes to GameFi. But I guess poorly focusing on earning mechanism though.
Okay, it's purely focusing on. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I think one of the important things for us to do as like leaders in this space is to have these conversations with guilds where we discuss about the type of players that we're looking to bring into the ecosystem. So I actually had a conversation with Ben Lee, who's the founder and CEO of Blowfish Studios, and like in a big role in the creation of Phantom Galaxies. And he was speaking about how he's been speaking to quite a few of the big guilds recently they're partnered with, and sort of having a discussion around the type of people they want to bring into the ecosystem and about the fact that they want to bring in people who are going to like recycle funds into the game economy and want to sort of like play a fun game as well as the earning incentives rather than purely being concerned about the earning incentives. I think guilds are starting to realize how the pure play to earn model is pretty unsustainable now. And they're also looking to sort of like educate their community on like the sort of next generation of blockchain gaming that's moving forwards.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're still at the very early stage. So most of the games now they're trying to make a profit by just giving out rewards and then really lacking of the gameplay. So hopefully we will see when you guys launch your games, and there will be a very good feedback from the community. So I think.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Please.
Yes, I was just going to say. So if you think about like having fun gameplay is the only real way to survive market upturns and downturns. Because if you think about like games in general, like bear markets don't affect games, like actual games, because people continue to play it regardless. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And it should really, this industry should get to a similar situation where it's like people are going to play the game regardless of like the earning incentives because they're fun to play. And therefore, like the bull markets and the bear markets shouldn't have so much of an effect. Whereas this recent bear market, how it's massively affected the first generation of blockchain games and completely like drop numbers in terms of like the monthly active players, that sort of demonstrates the sort of problems that we have to overcome in this industry still.
Right, exactly. Okay, so some people raising their hands in the audience. And Grace, could you allow some audience to come to the stage and then raise their questions?
It looked like someone has just raised their hand, but I cannot invite them on the stage. So there are two questions coming from our community, and the first one will be I saw the avatars and the pictures of Gray, and just it looks more like an oil painting to me with something artistic inside. Did you hire the artist or someone from your team, or did that work?
Sorry, I missed that question.
I think they complement your avatar profile. They're asking if it's hand drawn by anyone. It looks very aesthetic.
Yeah, basically, I think Grace is asking, is this done in-house or you outsource this?
Yeah. So we was actually the sort of first person in our team. So we originally started as an NFT gaming project with an NFT launch at first, which was last August, and we had an in-house artist. His name's Tom Romain. He's won a few awards for sort of artwork. He's based in the UK, where our core team's from. So we've been working with him since June of last year, and he spent the first 2 months of the project from June to August of last year creating all of the artwork. It's all generated. So he created all the different single components, and then our CTO ran code on it to sort of randomly generate based on different percentages of what was most likely. But yeah, they were all hand drawn. So yeah, that was. Thanks to you for the compliment on the artwork.
Thank you, Liam. And as another question, and it is, I'm actually very interested in the divided system. You give back the BUSD instead of some sort of tokens. That's different. And is that the only profit made we have? Is that the only profit mode we have? And what are the other things we could do to earn from our community?
Yep. So thank you for addressing that question. So for Zone 9 Survival, we are building a staking system that reward players with stable coins. In that way, it's completely different with Luna and USD incident. For the daily system, we are trying to give back the revenue that we earn from our revenue sources. So players, when they stake in our ecosystem, they will be able to grow with the project and make sure that they get back something for them. Because from my experience in the GameFi field, every staking pool, they are heavily influenced by price action and inflation. That means when you lock your position into a pool and the token price got dumped, you're in total loss. So we're trying to do that in a way that we could avoid the inflation. And also when you come to Zone 9 Survival and you play the game, there's a lot of earning opportunity for them. First will be the looting from discovering the maps. So basically you have to discover the map and fight against zombies and other players to secure your loot. And from the loot, you can either craft into NFTs and sell it on a marketplace, or sell the materials directly into the marketplace for the players who are in need. Secondly, you can participate in the games in terms of community contributors. So in that way, we reward very heavily to those who actually contribute into our ecosystem. Like for example, players who finishing the map earliest and he share back the knowledge to the community, he will be examined and rewarded by us. Yep, and also the guild wars that you guys shouldn't miss out on.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, guys, for the answer. And also, this is come to the end of our discussion today. And thank you guys for joining. And by the way, I saw both projects. They opened their YouTube channel. I'm a big fan of like visual content. I hopefully you guys can give us a sneak peek of what's happening next. And guys, please don't forget to follow Project Social. And if you have any questions, please go to their channel, or I can ask in our channel. And I believe our guest speakers will be happy to answer your questions. And apologies for the delay today. And next time we will try to avoid the technical problems. And again, thank you guys. Thank you. And have a great day.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for having us. Great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.